From the CNHT studios in Concord, New Hampshire, just a few blocks from the New Hampshire State House, this is
GrokTALK.
3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GrokTALK.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio, microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com.
GrokTALk.
All right, this is GrokTALK.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna.
Keep on the line.
What are we doing? You're gonna.
Bring her on.
All right, I'll bring her on. See, we didn't know if this was going to be a now thing or a later thing. Our special guest, I said there was a guest to be named later, and this is it. Kimberly Morin, who, did you go to the protesty thing?
Of course I did. I was the one who started it.
Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. All right, so then you were definitely there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so explain what it was, and then tell us how it went.
The Democrats are having a big Democrat convention.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the candidates are here, and whatever, I don't know, whatever it is they do at their conventions, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Candidates will all speak,
They
blah,
dance
blah.
widdershins around a fire built by burning other people's property. I think that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just decided to say hi and, have a little protest. And the Hillary people are pretty insane.
Yeah,
I
it
have
has
to
to
say,
be.
Bernie Sanders people loved us.
Yeah.
Really?
Even though because we have a lot of the friends we have against Hillary.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because, we
The
can't
friend
stand
of my
Hillary.
friend.
That's right.
Right, exactly. I'm like, I felt like saying, I don't like socialists either, dude, but whatever.
So how's the turnout?
The turnout was pretty decent. I forgot how many people. But it was pretty good, and it was funny because the Hillary people, it seems more of them came over to that side, because we were mostly against Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny. And I saw our buddy Half-Baked Hosmer.
Oh, was he there? Of course he was there. Of course he was there.
Is he a
He was.
Hillary or a Bernie guy? Or maybe one of the asterisks?
Well, since he hates women, I don't think he's a Hillary person. But as he was going across the crosswalk, I said, "Hey, Hosmer, enjoy your last session as senator."
Well, I will make this pronouncement. If I win Powerball tonight, I will run against him. But
That would be good.
yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. But my chances of winning Powerball, not so good.
Yeah, not too good. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And of course, I made a couple signs. One of them was, and I posted these on my Facebook page and of course on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Hillary Clinton, because you know how she just came out with that sexual assault video, which is a joke.
Yeah, I know. It's the funniest thing. That is damn near the clearest case of how completely clueless these people are that she did that.
So I made up a sign that said Hillary Clinton didn't believe her husband's victims. She victimized them.
Right.
That she did.
And
that was
then-
her job.
Yeah. And then another one, Hassan, Shaheen, Clinton are women who are against actual rights of women. Because, they don't like the First and Second Amendment.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and then there were
and
other
they
signs-
like Bill Clinton. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and, there was other signs. I have more pictures, but, yeah, it was pretty decent. And then, of course, there were no pipeline people here. There was people complaining because there's not enough debate. I thought it was amusing. A bunch of people, apparently O'Malley had a rally down the street. So they're all walking by and they're, O'Malley did this, O'Malley did that. And one of them was, O'Malley banned assault weapons. And I said, oh no, O'Malley took away your rights and you like that. Woo-hoo! Moron.
Yeah. Speaking of...
The asterisks are campaigning for more debates. It's pretty funny.
Oh, I think it's hilarious.
what are they going to debate?
Their first debate, yes, exactly.
What are they going to debate? Really?
Which one's the biggest moron?
Yeah.
No, actually, it's more of who's going to out-socialist Bernie at this point. Because after all, the head of the DNC, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who should be there, she does have a home here in New Hampshire.
Oh, she probably will. Yeah.
Yeah, she basically 3 times on national TV. can't say what's the difference between a
That was
Democrat and a
hysterical.
socialist.
Figure out where she parked her broom and then wait for her.
Yeah. So
That
you know,
was
yeah.
pretty hysterical, actually. I so really want. I'm a law-abiding citizen, so I won't do it. But I still want to take one of these big Hillary signs, and I can't get away with it because I'm a law-abiding citizen, so I can't.
Yes.
If I
on
wasn't
your
a
side.
law-abiding citizen, and I was probably a leftist, I'd do it. But
They believe that you aren't anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah. So
That's
do a mock-up of one. That'd be more fun anyway.
I got plenty of mock-ups of them. When she came out with that stupid H going to hell thing, it was, hilarity ensued. Her campaign is so pathetic.
It really
I don't
is.
know how
It's
anyone supports her.
reminiscent of Paul Hode's run for Senate.
And I wasn't here then, so I don't remember. But I've never seen such a pathetic. Oh, yes, I have. Republicans aren't always good with it.
That's true. That's true. You have seen pathetic.
Yeah.
But for Democrats, for Democrats.
But for Democrats, this is super pathetic because these people have billions of dollars more than Republicans, and they are like the masters of this kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
but
with Hillary, it's just
it's Hillary campaigning, not Bill. That's part of the problem.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Wasserman Schultz, a Democrat who can't tell the difference between Democrats and socialists, and then they asked Richard Trumka. Well, he's already a communist, but he couldn't enunciate the difference between Democrats and socialists either. But as far as he's concerned, he's a communist and he owns all the Democrats.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, unions are communist by nature, but I think it's amusing that they can't tell the difference because honestly, when you go side by side, there isn't much difference. And it's interesting that Democrats will fight till the death and say they're not socialists, but when you look and compare everything they're for, pretty much on the same, all in line with the same thing.
Well, I think they've been sowing the seeds for that for a while. I mean, we're all socialists now. Back in 2008, 2009, the media has been kind of pimping that notion that the Democrat Party is the Socialist Party, and it's a good thing because the Democrat Party is a good thing, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. So I wouldn't be, I know they can't answer, they won't answer the question yet because I don't think they're ready to market it that way, but I think they've been trying for a long time to just convince everybody that it's not a bad thing and that it's what they really are and it's good and that you should embrace it. They're just not ready yet.
What I honestly feel bad for young women who don't know the truth about what Hillary did to the women her husband sexually assaulted.
True.
And I know that I have given some of them the facts and they were appalled in the past. But I was literally called the C word last night by some Hillary supporter because she said I was trying to say Bill Clinton was committed sexual crimes. I'm like, he did. Duh. So yeah, they're quite classy too. But
if you drag a slick willy through a trailer park, you never know what you'll pick up.
But the thing is, I honestly feel bad for these women, and I try to inform them of the truth all the time, like I do, because they just don't. There's a whole. You gotta remember, there's a whole generation of voters right now. They have no idea what happened back in the '80s. Heck, I didn't even know the real full truth about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton until 2009 when I started reading and researching. Honestly, I knew some of it, but I did not know the whole thing, and probably still will never know the actual whole thing. But how could any self-respecting woman support her?
Yeah,
none, not one.
I mean, aside from the fact that she was initially put in charge of tamping down the bimbo eruptions, of which there were many, and destroying the reputations of the women who dared to suggest they might have had a relationship or been molested by Bill, and everything that she's done since, and the mysterious deaths that have always accompanied the Clintons' travels.
It is the media doing its job. They don't talk about it. I mean, if he was a Republican, everybody would know.
If he was a Republican, guys, if he was a Republican, he wouldn't be revered by the Republican Party, okay? The Democrat Party has always revered Bill Clinton. He was one of the most popular Democrats for many, many years, even though he has a record of being a serial sexual assaulter. That is what I find disturbing.
And it's not just that. I mean, even if we took that out, he cheats on his wife. He's still cheating on his wife. The Secret Service has identified that he's continually cheating on his wife. if that's not a moral character flaw, and she knows about it, what the heck is?
And she doesn't care because she's got her fellow pantsuited women that
Well,
she
it doesn't
hangs
matter.
out with.
She's all about the power, and that's her little thing. And she's
Well, and that's the thing, and that's what disgusts me even beyond that she enabled him to continually creating more victims, because that's what she did, because she didn't stop him. She could have at least had some respect for herself, but she cared more about the power and his political achievements and where he could go in office than she cared about another woman getting sexually assaulted. That's disgusting.
It was entirely about perpetuating each other's rise to power and fame and fortune, and anybody who got damaged along the way was purely incidental.
Yeah.
Well, and what the thing is, her entire career has been So her biggest accomplishment has been staying out of prison. Okay. Anytime someone asks me what an accomplishment, I tell them that, because her entire career, since she was on Watergate, she was fired for ethics violations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. This is a woman that they want to be president of the United States.
Kimberly. Yeah, Kimberly, I want to go back to something that you said earlier about the media and ask the question: is there a lot of media there? Do we see lots of cameras? Do we see lots of reporters with notebooks or laptops and stuff like that? And how many of them are actually standing up and cheering?
Well, I'm not. Are you kidding? The New Hampshire Democrats would never give me a press pass. I tried once and they ignored me.
Even though that you're with Examiner.com.
And
yeah,
a couple other places too. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I was kind of hoping that one might get her in. Associating with us.
No. But I mean, she's got the Federalist Papers. She's got a couple others too.
Yeah, exactly. But before I was even associated with you guys, I tried to go to an event as the press, and they wouldn't do it.
Did anybody bitch about how they had to show their ID to get in?
No, I was going to ask somebody if they had to do that. I'm sure they did.
They do.
Yeah, they always do. Just Massachusetts, I wrote about that, and it went viral.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Massachusetts, they were whining about the voter ID. But yet you needed an ID to get into the Democrat convention in Massachusetts. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing I want to tell you guys. Most of the people up here are not from New Hampshire. Busload after busload of Massachusetts people. We were talking to people on the sidewalk as they were walking by because we're very, present.
Mm-hmm.
And probably over 100 people walked by. Not one of them was from New Hampshire.
Yeah, Massachusetts citizens doing the jobs that New Hampshire ones won't.
Well, these are the people they probably ship up here to vote too. So,
yeah, I was going to say voting for socialists. Yes. That's the job that New Hampshire citizens don't want to do.
Yeah,
right, exactly. So I did notice
the
that
Democrat Party will pay for buses to get them up here, but they won't. Everybody else has to pay for everything else. Kimberly, we're going to take a quick break. If you want to stay on the line, please do. We will.
Actually, wait, guys. My breakfast is probably here. I forgot about doing this, and I'm at Murphy's, which is a great place.
Okay.
And I'm sitting with some reps. So,
all right, you go do your thing.
And say hi to them
guys.
for us.
All right,
I will.
Thanks for talking to us. Talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Kimberly Morin from Murphy's, apparently, where she's having breakfast. We will be right back.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
From the CNHT studios in Concord, New Hampshire, just a few blocks from the New Hampshire State House, this is
GrokTALK.
Hey, we're back.
We are.
Listening to music for a minute. This is GrokTALK, brought to you by GraniteGrok.com, the award-winning bloggers at, and the Coalition of New Hampshire Studios. Check them out at cnht.org. Check us out at GraniteGrok.com. Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Ustream, Google+, and more.
Yup.
Yup. All right, we're in the final lap.
Yup and indeed.
Far too many things to talk about that all squeeze into the last 15, 10, 12 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I think the ongoing controversy right now among the conservative bases, and I think Mike put it well with his quoting of Jadell, what good is it for? I mean, really, that is the existential question in politics among the grassroots base. Why do we keep supporting the Republican Party? I mean, we see the lack of adherence to principle. We see all too often too much of the concept of bipartisan compromise, to the point of, as you said, Steve, the Democrats got 97%. What did we actually get?
You need to, I think we really, a third-party movement would be very difficult to do, but states would have to do it. I mean, the states would have to compete and recognize third party. We don't have one here.
And you know why we can't?
Yeah, I know why. It's deliberate, but the whole problem is you need to be able to have one, and they need to be able to compete in every state, or at least a supermajority of states, and with vim and vigor and purpose and candidates and money. And the system is currently set up to make sure that doesn't happen.
You're right, and that's
and the process at this point of getting to the point where that happens, unless it just happens, the country will be impossible to save by then.
Yeah, I think that we had a perfect opportunity when the squish Republicans decided to join with the Democrats and elect Sean Jasper. And then when Bill O'Brien and a lot of the folks that we like got together and made their own caucus, essentially, that would have been a perfect time to have launched a third party of people who actually believe in the Constitution and conservative views, because you've got a built-in set of people who had seriously won a big chunk of the electorate, which is one of the primary things that keeps a third party from running. It would have already fulfilled that. You would have had name recognition all over the place, all over the state, and it would have been a perfect thing to do. Now, not so much. And you're right, it is stacked against another party trying to get legitimacy, and we've seen that with the Libertarian Party. They are of no help at all as far as doing something, just based on results. They're there, they talk, but they can't achieve much.
No, and it's a futile gesture, and basically it steals a variable single-digit number of percent from the totals, such that you may lose a Republican, you'll never lose a Democrat due to the Libertarians, unfortunately. But what you said triggered a couple of points. First of all, the party platform. The Republican Party platform is invariably conservative. It has clearly stated positions. It is the party of small government, individual liberty, low taxes, low regulations, all the things that, in fact, conservatism is about. And they don't follow any of it. So I have to assume that the party is basically propaganda for the consumption of the low information Republican, because they never enact it. The other thing is what Steve said, I think, or whichever you said about the built-in caucus. I was just thinking right before he said that, the way to do this is you run stealth candidates, mostly Republicans, some Democrats, who are privately committed to declare their membership in a third party after election, and to turn around to their voters and say, aren't you fed up with the way it is? Aren't you totally tired of the way that the party constantly caves to the Democrats and constantly keeps growing government? Well, guess what? We're different. We're going to band together. We're going to call ourselves the whatever party, and we now have a majority.
Yeah, that actually, even if they didn't have a majority, it would turn out to be more like the parliaments of the Democrat socialists in Europe, where, even if you are relatively small, the political science says you can have an outsized, you can punch above your weight, even if you are small, because here in this state, and I've been saying this for years, you only need a couple of percent at the most to be able to make big changes.
Yeah,
and we saw that in this last election in November with Walt Havenstein and Scott Brown. I think it was 4% of the electorate said, you're right, we're not going to vote for them because they're not worth our expensive vote.
Yeah, and it totally destroyed him. But it comes down to the small and vocal minority that we hear so much about from the days of the founding that can make so much difference. Well, we've got more than a small minority in the State House. We've got, not far short of a majority of actual conservatives who, if they chose, could do severe damage to some of the socialist legislation that goes through.
And the problem there is, as we said, the game is already rigged from the legal perspective about that happening. The other thing is most, not all, but most of the journalists here in the state are pretty much Democrats with bylines.
Mm-hmm.
And you always see that the Republicans are the ones under the gun. Why won't the Republicans do this? Why won't they do that? Why won't they go along with this? Why won't, as far as the real solid conservatives like Bill O'Brien and the folks that are clustered around him. You never hear the same thing. I mean, just look at this shutdown. It was the Republicans' fault for the budget stalemate here in New Hampshire. It was never Democrat Maggie Hassan's fault.
In spite of the fact that Chuck Morse had already compromised on 95% of what she wanted, and she wouldn't give even an inch on reducing the business enterprise tax.
And that's the part that I think that galls most of us. We see no fight in the Republican leadership. We hear all the wonderful words, we hear all of the glorious rhetoric, but when it comes down to brass tacks and getting the job done, we look at the results and go, dang, again, they sold out. I have no problem with government shutting down. If you want to run New Hampshire with a series of continuing resolutions, so be it. Because at least it keeps things from getting bigger. But now we see the Republicans saying, yeah, we're going to get it bigger. And mark my words, when Medicaid expansion comes up, which was not included in this deal, I will guarantee you the Republican leadership will cave like wet bread going into a toaster.
They've already caved. Caving was preordained. Yeah. It's already been decided that there will be a deal and that this will be extended.
Yeah. So what are we supposed to say when we once again hear Republicans glorifying smaller government and more individual freedom when they go ahead and lie about it to our faces and just go along with the Democrats? And then they get mad when we call them on it.
Yeah.
Steve?
And we need to pay a visit to the Home Depot and pick up the lubricants and tie downs.
Well,
inside joke.
All
folks.
we can really do is
different kind of party.
What we've been doing, which is try to get that percentage, to get the right kinds of candidates elected, to save New Hampshire as it is, as it were.
And that's what Susan's all about.
And that's what we're all about. I mean, we took the faculty training. We know what the deal is. You need about 3%. You need to flip 3% of the voters to get your guy or girl elected.
Or unelected.
And
we're getting good at that.
And it's important to understand, but you have to get people engaged in it. It isn't just people who are politically active. Most people aren't involved, they aren't connected, they don't get it, they don't understand, and they don't want to. And so when you have somebody like a Trump who comes up and actually gets people who have been disconnected from the process to engage in the process, you see the establishment go, no, we don't want that. I mean, are they objecting to Trump because he's being successful, or are they objecting because he's bringing people into the process who aren't going to vote their way? And I would think it's the latter.
And you're right. And we saw that. I mean, this is the second round that we're seeing this, where you get somebody outside the establishment, is not beholden to the establishment, could care less about the establishment, bringing more people into what the establishment party says. We want more people that will actually become Republicans. So he does that. They go, oh, crap, we can't control them. We already saw this with the Tea Party. Mm-hmm. We'll take your votes, and they did it in 2 cycles. But when the Tea Party folks said, yeah, and now we want a little more, we saw the establishments cutting them off at the pass. And I think when they keep seeing that, and now with the rise of the new media, like Granite Grok, with Twitter and other social media like Facebook and everything else, folks like us going out there, and other people like Kimberly and Susan Olson, putting that word out, people are starting to go, yeah, maybe you're right. And I think what is the best hope I have right now to get the state of New Hampshire is that the Republican Party leadership says we are willing to go left, even if it results in a smaller party, just so that we can keep a hold of that power. And then we can point to that. We need to be playing the long-term game to say we're willing to take that short-term hit, because what cannot be sustained will be unsustainable. And at some point there will be a big crack, one hopes. And then what you're saying about the low information voters, something will happen and they'll go, I mean, Europe, I've been talking about all day. Look what's happening in Europe with the migration. They never thought it would happen, and they put in rules that would allow it to happen. And oh my, it's happened. Now what do we do? They're panicking. And I think the Republican leadership here in New Hampshire...
You left off a cliff, and look, the ground is approaching.
I like that. That's a good way of putting it. And I think one would hope that the Republican leadership saw that in November when their top of the ticket, the top two of the ticket, cratered. Mm-hmm. Do you think they've learned from that, Steve?
I don't think they have yet, Skip.
No, we do need a Republican governor. We do need a Bill O'Brien House, and we do need a Republican majority in the Senate. And if we could get those things, we can do a lot of good in New Hampshire in 2 years.
If we can get Republicans that actually cherish the platform, and Nancy Stiles out from the seacoast.
If you have a Bill O'Brien House and you have a Republican governor, you have a lot more leverage. We know that because he worked with a not entirely cooperative Senate and managed to get a good number of things accomplished. Not all the things we wanted because the squishes got us an RGGI and a couple other things, but it's possible. The Senate's just harder to flip with good people. I mean, we've got Republicans in there now. A bunch of them are horrible, but they could be leveraged with the right kind of Republican House, which we don't have because we have a Republican Senate kind of Republican House with Jasper and the Jaspercrats and the Democrats working together. But that needs to change.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then we could definitely make huge movement to the right. But we need a Republican governor.
We need a principled governor that's willing to not just vote for sign the legislation.
And consider SB 116. Given the House and the Senate that we have, that still went to the governor. A Republican governor would have signed that.
Yes.
And that'd be a done deal. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, we have to take those when we can get them. I mean, we're not going to get everything we want. We have to get something. We have to start moving the pendulum back the other way.
Yes, we do. And there are good people that want to run for governor. It really depends whose hats are in the ring. But there are good people out there.
Yeah. Steve, I think that you're right. We certainly want to bring that Overton window back to the right, but I really think that the eyes on the prize should be on what really should be prized, which is not necessarily just going to the right, but going back to our roots, looking at the New Hampshire Constitution and actually following the precepts, because it's an even better Constitution in a lot of ways than what the U.S. Constitution is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we just had folks that were willing to look at that and say, yeah, this is the model for governance that we should have, even though I've got lots of people, especially Democrats, but a few Republicans saying, it's not my job to be constitutional. I think that is a flagrant disregard for the Constitution. We individuals, the little people, would be far better off because then we would get to make those decisions.
All right, we are coming up on the end of the program. We would like to thank all of our guests, Susan Olson, Steve Lonigan, Kimberly Morin, of course, gentlemen, Mike Rogers, Skip Murphy, every week showing up, doing the job.
And that this American citizen wants to do.
Doing the job.
Doing the job.
That the media just won't do.
That's
there
right.
You go.
There you go.
That's
Perfect.
why we're the new media.
We're the new media. And this is GrokTALK, and thanks again to our hosts, the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, who are kind enough to allow us to use the space in the office as long as we pay the phone bill that we use.
Oh, I got more money to come out of my pocket, huh?
Yeah, well, that's what we need. Donate. Did you say donut or donate? All right, this is GrokTALK. We will be back next week in studio, and after that, it's Groktober. We'll talk to you soon.
Why are you going to want to listen to GrokTALK? Because when it comes to politics, news, and the culture, we are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting.
Grok TV.